All this week, Matt Fry has been in Islamabad presenting our special coverage of the security situation in Afghanistan and Pakistan. We've been bringing you reports from the front lines of the war against the Taliban in Afghanistan and the efforts to root out extremist elements in Pakistan. Tonight, Matt wraps up our special coverage with a closer look at the daily lives of people in the region.
There's another war being fought in Pakistan, Clatty. Its weapons are not helicopter gunships, not IEDs, but books and ideas. And it takes place in the schools and madrasas of this country. Remember, the word Taliban means student in Pashto. The militant movement was born in madrasas where religious piety is mixed with political poison. Meanwhile, the government here spends no more than 2.5% of the GDP on secular education, and half the nation is illiterate. Call it a recipe for extremism. Here's our correspondent, Orla Guerin.
Morning assembly at a government school in Punjab. They say education is their candle. But Pakistan spends little on schools, and it shows. 1/3 of under-9s don't even attend. Those who do learn lessons about lack of funding. The lesson in here now is Urdu language, and in the classroom just across the corridor, the children are learning science. There's plenty of subjects on the curriculum here: maths, Arabic, English. The problem is there aren't enough teachers to teach them, so the school is shrinking. Half the pupils are gone. Most of these girls won't finish their education, but Farmida has big dreams. She wants to be a doctor. Both girls and boys should be educated, she says. I don't agree that girls should stay home and do housework while only boys go to school. Safina also dreamed of becoming a doctor before the Taliban cast their long shadow, blowing up girls' schools in the Swat Valley. She told us she misses her lessons and her teachers and would like to go back once there's peace. Here's the kind of education the Taliban like: the madrasas, or Islamic schools, where the Quran is learnt by heart and young minds can be moulded for jihad. This is Darul Uloom Haqqaniya, the second largest madrasa in Pakistan. It's estimated that less than 2% of students attend these schools, but they're a major concern for the West. President Zardari talks of reforming them. The cleric in charge here told me, no chance. This dream has never come true for anyone, says Maulana Samiul Haq. Many leaders took it to their grave, and Zardari will take it to his. Back in Punjab, the government boys' school is deserted. There's been no permanent teacher here for months. This is how Pakistan's future is being squandered. Orla Guerin, BBC News, Punjab.
All week we've been looking at the war against extremism waged by British and American troops over the border in Afghanistan and here by the Pakistani forces. And there's one big lingering question. Is Pakistan in danger of becoming a failed state? The government here is adamant that there is no such risk. But in many ways, Pakistan itself has failed its own people. And that is part of the problem. Islamabad is full of surprises. This is a health club called Nirvana, a little enclave of serenity in a country that doesn't usually do serene. Nadra and her perfect nails are regulars here. Daughter of an officer, self-confessed lady of leisure, pampered with a hint of grit.
When you see all these barriers and security stops and checks, and of course, you think about your security, and especially what's going on in the country, but you can't live your life always being afraid that something might happen to you. So you have to keep on living, You can't really just get stuck on one point.
Mm-hmm. So you're not afraid?
I'm not afraid. If it's my destiny to live, I will live. If it's not, then too bad, tough luck.
But if Nadra and her ilk feel under siege today, it's also because in Pakistan, the gulf between the manicured and the miserable has grown far too wide. This is the other Pakistan. This is where the other half lives. Of course, the problem is that the other half, in Pakistan's case, is the vast majority of the population. Thanks to the economic crisis, living in greater poverty than ever, and also feeling profoundly let down by its own political class. In a country of 160 million people, roughly 3/4 live on under $2 a day. They call it the poverty bomb. And together with the suicide bombs planted by militants, it makes for a very explosive combination. In the market, we found some sympathy for the ideas, if not the tactics, of the Taliban, and plenty of disgust with politicians.
Our leaders are not sincere to Pakistan. They do all the work for their own purpose, not for Pakistan.
Down the road, a makeshift shrine for a woman who tried to bridge the divide and failed. Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto, killed by an assassin, daughter of a prime minister who was executed by a general. Her husband is now president, and her son is being groomed to take over. In Pakistan, the promise of democracy is forever diluted by the perils of dynasty, while the people are kept on the sidelines. If the fight against Muslim extremism is a raging storm, this region here is its eye. From the remote hills of Afghanistan to the crowded cities of Pakistan, the world's most sophisticated armies are fighting determined insurgents who use primitive but deadly means. And despite the billions spent, the lives lost, and the fact that Barack Obama is about to pour thousands more troops into this brew, it is by no means certain who will prevail. What we do know from bitter experience is that whatever happens here, good or bad, the rest of the world will feel the consequences. Cathy.
Matt, listening to your reports during the course of this week, one thing that really strikes me is that there are certainly elements of Pakistani society that are in denial about the scale of this problem.
Some people are still in denial. If you go to the markets or talk to people on the streets, there are those who say, well, there's the good Taliban with all its ideas of religious piety and so on, and then there's the bad Taliban using all those nasty tactics of suicide bombs. But the key thing is that the army is no longer in denial. Remember, it was the army that helped to create the Taliban through the ISI, its intelligence agency, back in the 80s and 90s. That, of course, grew out of the Mujahideen movement in neighboring Afghanistan against the Soviets. They really created a sort of monster which they're now having to deal with. And the army has realized that this proud institution, the only thing that really works efficiently in Pakistan, that has held this country together since its inception, is really being challenged by the Taliban in the way that nothing has challenged the army before, apart from India perhaps. So the army has decided enough is enough, and they're finally cracking down.
And does that proud institution believe there is a military solution?
Even the senior generals you speak to here don't believe that there's only a military solution to this problem. There has to be a political solution, not just in places like the Swat Valley, where they've had military successes recently, or indeed in the tribal areas where the military campaign is going to be really quite tricky, but the political solution will be even trickier, because what they have to do, the overarching problem here, is to redefine what Pakistan is all about. What is the vision for this country? What is the purpose of Pakistan? Is it a garrison state, which it has been in the past? Is it just an Islamic state, which may not be enough to define it within its national borders? Is it just not India? Because remember, this is an incredibly diverse place. Numerous tribes, numerous geographical regions, which really have nothing to do with each other. I mean, the 6 of the 8 largest mountains in the world are in Pakistan. You also have the kind of tropical plains near Karachi. You have the deserts of Baluchistan. The variety in terms of people and landscape, geography and politics is huge, and all that needs to be rethought almost from scratch. And that is a debate, Cathy, that is not taking place here.
Matt, fascinating stuff. And before you go, I just want to thank you and all the team out there for some really great reporting from Pakistan this week. Thanks so much.